indications of whether we're in good and bad times. Right now it's pretty clear we're in fairly bad times. Unemployment is one of them, but foreclosures are another. The stalling housing market is people who are themselves not unemployed, who are still really antsy and worried, and often it's because their house has plummeted in value and they've got negative equity. The stock market is it crumbled during the campaign. Part of the reason Obama was elected, I think, is that it plummeted in such a way that people who have a lot of retirement money set aside in the stock market watched it, lost 40% of the value and panicked. It's bounced back, but it's not robustly climbing in the way that makes people bright and sunny about their future. So there's lots of ways the economy is doing poorly. The Tea Party strikes me, whatever else, however many wackos there might be around the fringes, and there undoubtedly are some, is primarily people who are really edgy, really nervous, really unhappy about the economy and the state of finances, public finances. All right, so I'm going to stop and allow questions shortly, but I haven't really made forecasts except I told you what I predicted for the US House a year ago and then how I've updated it slightly. The last thing about predictions, maybe two more things. They're hard to make this year because there are a lot more really close races this year than we've seen in a long time. And if I focus down on the US Senate races, some of the most interesting and some of the closest are getting closer, even though they're moving opposite directions. So California, Barbara Boxer seemed to be pulling away from Carly Fiorina, and in the last couple of polls, it's looked like Fiorina is edging closer. I think, the momentum was with the Democrat, the Republicans catching up. You go to Kentucky, Rand Paul, the Republican, who is one of the prominent Tea Party people, one of the most people who's most eager to describe himself as a Tea Partier, would like to have a Tea Party caucus in the Senate, looked like he was sort of home free, and now I still think he's going to win, but the Democrat is catching him. Opposite movement. It isn't like the Reaps are gaining everywhere, the Dems are losing everywhere, or the opposite. It looks like in lots of the Senate races, they're converging. Pennsylvania, I still think actually is probably a safe Republican gain, but in the polling, CSTAC is actually sort of catching up in some. Washington, where it looked like Patty Murray, the Democratic incumbent, was pulling away from Dino Rossi, actually now again looks like it's within margin of error and it's very close. So I think there are 9 or so US Senate races where I could make a prediction right now, but my best prediction is it's truly a toss-up. It's really going to come down not so much to the fact that this is a good year for Republicans and they've got a tailwind, which is certainly true, but very late, last-minute gaffes, last-minute revelations, who's got the better ground game and gets the more volunteers on the phone and knocking in doors in the last couple of weeks. And I think historical patterns tell you that the out party, the party that's gaining, will do better. So in those toss-ups, if I said Kentucky and California, Colorado, Illinois, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Washington, West Virginia are all toss-ups, Republicans probably will win more than half of them. So I don't actually think they'll take control of the US Senate, but it's not mathematically impossible. And for better or for worse, it's a hard year to make predictions because there are so many close races. I haven't said a heck of a lot about campaign finance, and in the introduction it was mentioned I have a paper on campaign finance. I guess I'll leave that in case people have particular questions about it. I'm sort of going to punt and tell you what I said earlier, that we don't know the total spending. We won't know it till later. I can do a nice talk about campaign finance around June. It's much too late to be interesting, and there won't be very many people in the room. But it's a tough nut to crack. Very last point, and then I'll get you questions. What about governors? Republicans are going to gain governors in probably 6, 7 states. Some of them are states, if you looked at where they already have the governorships, it's sort of wrong foot you. The Democrats and Republicans are in the governor's chair in seats where you think that the party is weak. So the Democrats have been the governors in, for example, Arizona, not anymore, but Kansas, Oklahoma. Republicans were governors in Hawaii and Vermont. I think that doesn't sound right. Republicans are probably going to keep Vermont, although that's a close one. But Vermont is actually a pretty unimportant, and it's a nice state. It's a great place to ski. It's uninteresting in the one important respect that one reason this is a really important election cycle is redistricting. Redistricting is just around the corner. The census is just about to be reported, and all the big states especially are going to have to redraw their maps. And the parties really, really care about being in on that and not getting shut out. So Vermont has 1 US House seat. Redistricting is easy there. You just trace around the edge of the state and say, we're done. There's 1 seat. Same district as last time. Same district we always draw, actually. Florida, on the other hand, is a neck-and-neck race between Rick Scott, the Republican, and Alex Sick, the Democrat. And that's a state where redistricting matters a lot. It's probably gaining seats. How you draw that map could turn 4 or 5 US House seats. Not this time, of course, but in 2012. All the people getting in on the tide this time immediately are going to see, not all of them, but most of them are going to see their maps redrawn. And so some of them are in some respects, this is the wrong time to win if you want to forge a long career in the House, because some of them are going to get stuck with tough districts. And so both parties really care about the governorship, and I think the late activity, much as they'd love to win U.S. Senate seats, we'll see even more money pouring in the last couple of weeks in governor's races, and that includes here. So I just made this prediction somewhere else in print, so I'm on paper, and it won't please everyone. But I think in the end, Brady's still going to win the governor's race here. It's polling close, and the polling really has flummoxed people who study polling, and I'm in that camp, or people who do polling, because it really looks like who's going to win depends on whether or not you ask about Cohen. Scott Lee Cohen, who was the Democratic lieutenant governor for a while, about a week and a half, and then was persuaded to get off the ticket when the party realized just how embarrassing his background is in lots of ways, including allegations of having tried to threaten to kill a prostitute with holding a knife to her throat. So he's got a very colorful life, even more so than the witch in Delaware, who's not a witch. And the Democrats successfully got him off the ticket, but he's running as an independent. So you think, well, he started life, at least in this election cycle, as a Democrat. If he's going to draw votes away, surely he's going to draw votes away from the Democratic candidate. But when he's on the ballot, when he's on polls, then Quinn does better and Brady worse. It looks like, at least in polling, Cohen's drawing votes away from Brady. I don't know anybody that predicted that that would be the effect. Some pollsters are asking, with all the candidates named, some are not including Cohen. If Cohen's not included, it looks like Brady's a little safer. If he is included, it looks like it's a neck-and-neck race. I can fashion an explanation after the fact for what on earth is going on, but I didn't predict it, so I shouldn't pretend I know, really. So given that makes the governor's race much harder to call. The Kirk-Januilius race, polling has been very steady. It's a small Kirk lead, in some polls within margin of error, and some of it just outside margin of error. He's got more money. If I had to bet today, I'd bet on Kirk. But I feel like I have a better feel of that for that race than I do for the governor's race, where there's this weird polling effect that means the numbers are all over the place. And I also think both parties, because of redistricting, really, really care about the race, and so they're going to go all out for it in the end. So I could just keep rambling on, but why don't I allow you to ask questions?